Hey, what's happening, guys? So a couple months ago, I did a video on how to play. I called it the Bernard Purdy halftime shuffle lesson, how to play Fool in the Rain, Rosanna, but not really. And basically, what that lesson was a it was just a real basic how to start playing a halftime shuffle and how to start throwing some real simple ghost notes in it to get that like Fool in the Rain, Rosanna, Bernard Purdy type feel. So if you haven't checked that lesson out, go ahead and check it out either here or here, or as one of these corners. There should be a drop-down menu coming down that has a link to that lesson, and I will also put a link in the description below. So to recap real quick, this particular halftime shuffle is you're playing a broken triplet pattern with your right hand. So you're going to count it a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and then you're playing your snare drum or your backbeat falls on beat 3. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, 2, a 3. Hence the reason that is a halftime shuffle. Now, what we kind of worked on in that earlier lesson was this particular beat. We had a bass drum on beat 1, and then we had a bass drum on just before the downbeat on 3. So I think it would be on like the of 3, I believe. Yep. So it's on the third triplet of the beat 2. I'm sorry, not beat 3, of beat 2. So like I said, go back, refer to that lesson because you have to be able to do that in order to get to this part. Now, the good news is once you get to that particular level where you're playing this with some sort of, confidence and proficiency, you are really about 3/4 of the way there of being able to play Fool in the Rain. Because once you get that down, everything else kind of falls into place really fairly easy. But one thing I do want to discuss that I never actually got into on the first lesson was how to properly play a ghost note. When you're doing a ghost note, they're called ghost notes for a reason. And the reason they're called ghost notes is you don't really hear them. It's more of a felt. You kind of feel their presence, but you don't necessarily know they're there. You do hear them, but you don't hear them. So to properly play a ghost note, you really can't be doing any kind of downward motion with your wrist because it's going to come out loud. You don't want it to sound like this. Now, obviously, my downbeat is louder, but my ghost note, it sounds almost like just like a quiet backbeat almost, It's too cracky. So in order to really properly play a ghost note, there's this really cool thing. This scientist guy discovered it a long time ago. It's called gravity. And gravity, I know, I'm such a condescending prick. Leave your hate comments in the below. Just, I know what gravity is, man. You need to talk to me like an idiot. Sorry. But gravity is actually a big help on this because if I do it like this. This is how I do it. Is I'm just resting. Here's the drum head, right? Here's my stick. Obviously, my snare drum's not up this high. I know that too. Sorry. But I gotta prepare for trolls because I know they're out there. There's always some smart ass who's got to come in the comment section and make a stupid comment. So consider these like preemptive. I'm flipping into bird preemptively. But if your snare is resting above, or I'm sorry, your stick is resting above your snare, like say an inch above your snare, and you just take your middle finger out, what happens? The stick just drops, right? Just falling down, nice and gently. Now, excuse me. if I let the stick drop and then I don't do anything to bring it back up, we're going to get this. We don't want that. So what we do is the stick drops, and then it's almost like an upstroke. Like that. So I just let the stick drop. Now, this is really easy to explain. It's a lot harder to do in practice. But if you put the time in, eventually it gets easier, just like anything else, you know. But if we let that stick drop, right, I don't do anything to pick it up. It's going to bounce multiple times. But if I do this and pick it up, it's almost like I call it like an upstroke, like that. So if I'm playing the beat, see that? So I let it drop. I don't know if you can see it in this camera angle, but I let it drop, and then I pick it up. So it does this. And so I'm literally set up to come back down with some sort of force for my backbeat. So I can hit a rim shot. Like that. You know. So that essentially, stupid microphone. Stop. What I get for buying the discount microphone stands off Amazon. This is an on-stage stand too, so I gotta get. I don't have good luck with mic stands. Two things I don't have good luck with is mic stands and cymbals lately. My cymbals have not been holding up. And another smart, you go hit your cymbals right. I hit my cymbals like that. It's just, for some reason, I've had some really, really shitty luck with my crash cymbals lately. I've cracked two. I found two cracked cymbals at the same time. Sorry, I'm done ranting. All right, so the next thing you need to know about this beat is, like I said before, the hi-hat pattern is triplet bass. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're gonna need some semblance of swing. You're not playing it. You're not playing this. You don't want that. That's stiff sound. There's no swing to that at all. I mean, there's a tiny little bit, but so you guys, for you younger guys, this is not your fault. This is totally not your fault. It's just what you've been exposed to since you were a young age. So if you're, under the age of 35, 40, you just, in popular music in general, everything that's been embedded into your little brains, not saying that you have a little brain, but when you're a kid, you have a little brain, right? Everything that's you hear is really this. Really straight eighth note type music, I'm older, so I grew up on hearing a lot of stuff like, my parents listened to a lot of swing music, actually. And then plus I listened to, growing up, I was listening to Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple. These bands all were playing blues-based, the Rolling Stones. They were all playing blues-based music, which really has some sway to it. It has some sway, and it has some swing to it. So you really need to kind of embrace that kind of music and really get an understanding and spend a lot of time listening to it so you can understand what swing is. I particularly don't consider myself a great swingy sway drummer. But I can do it a little bit. So I'm done ranting. I'm sorry. I go off on these tangents at times, so I'm going to get back to the lesson at hand. So we refer to that first lesson, right? So we should have this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So the first ghost note, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So the first ghost note is 1, 2, 3. So it's on the of 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm sorry, on the and. So it's in between the broken triplet pattern. Like that. Okay. And the last one is before the 1. So 4 and 1. 4 and 1. So that right there is the basic foundation of Fool in the Rain. What is the saying, basically, is Your ghost notes are the same. Your ghost notes, so everything you play in a snare drum doesn't change, okay? Everything you play with your right hand doesn't change from that first beat to this one. What changes is your bass drum, and there's just an opening hi-hat. So there's an open hi-hat on the second, the last triplet of beat 1. So your very first notes in Fool in the Rain are this. Like that. I'm sorry, there's actually a bass drum in before there. So it's bass. So if you get this, so what I would say is I would do this. I would take those ghost notes out and I would just practice. Get that down. Then throw in one ghost note. I have a rule when I'm learning something complicated. And my rule is every time I add something, if I can't do it right away with what I added, meaning another note or another limb, I take something out to make it a little less complicated to get my limb or whatever the other part of my mind needs to get the feel, the part I just added. I will take something out to get some of that clutter out of my mind. So if with this, if I'm going, right, I got that down. What I'll do is, rather than try, if I can't do both ghost notes right away, what I'll do is I'll just leave one ghost note in. Like that one. And leave the one out before the downbeat on one, or on the before the one, because there's the ghost note before the one on the second note of the triplet of beat 4 before the 1. So what I'm talking about is this. That right there. Now I'm having a real hard time playing this without actually doing the whole beat. So you got your first part. So first, second note of the triplet with the bass drum, right? And then you're lifting your hi-hat up also on these with your left foot on the second note of the triplet of beat 1. And then you come down, you have one hi-hat by itself, and then you're going to throw a ghost note right after that hi-hat, that first hi-hat on the downbeat of 2. Like that. Like, there we go. Hear that? So we got hat, bass hat, hat, hat by itself, ghost note, hat. And then on beat 3, so we got the hat by itself on the third note of the triplet on beat 2, and then we come down together with our snare and with our hat on beat 3, which is the downbeat. Okay? Just practice that. All right? And then you want to throw in, just practice that for a little bit. Get that bass drum for the downbeat too. Now next, we have a bass drum. Let me think here. We have a bass drum on the last triplet, so the third note of the triplet on beat 4, leading in to back to beat 1. So that's a 1. A 1. A 1. A 1. So that's just the triplet, or just the bass drum on the third note of the triplet on 4 and beat 1. Now you could do this too. A 1. A 1. A 1. Just get used to that. So like I said, always take something out if you're adding something in. Get it down. Break it down to its most basic structure before you try to get it put together. So we have a bass drum on the third triplet of beat 4. We have a bass drum on beat 1. We have a bass drum with an open hi-hat on the third note, the third triplet of beat 1. Then we have a hi-hat by itself on beat 2, and then we have a ghost note on the second note of the triplet on beat 2. Right? Then we have a hi-hat by itself on the third note of the triplet on beat 2, and then we hit our snare drum together with our hi-hat on beat 3. Put the whole thing together with the bass drum on the third note of the triplet of beat 4, it sounds like this. So another thing you can do is you can take out that left foot of your hi-hat. Take it out completely. Take out the snare drums, or take out the ghost notes maybe, and then just leave the downbeat on beat 3, and then just work the bass drum pattern with the hi-hat. Then throw in a downbeat on 3. Get that down. Then throw in one ghost note. So what I got right there is I'm just doing the ghost note right before the downbeat. Then throw in that second ghost note. So we got the ghost note on the second triplet of beat 4 before the bass drum on the third triplet of beat 4. Right there, man. You're there. You got that? You got the beat down. All you got to do is add that hi-hat, that open hi-hat on the the third triplet of beat 1. It's a process. It's slow going. Like I said, if you go back and you watch that first lesson on how to play just this part, like I said, you're like literally 3/4 of the way there. All right. Thanks for watching. Click the that little like thumbs up guy, or click the thumbs down guy. You know, whatever you do, I'm still getting interaction and it still looks good to YouTube. So if you're clicking the thumbs down and think like you're hurting me, you're not. You're not. I don't care. I don't care what you think. Well, I do care. I really do care. Give me honest feedback. You know, say, Jeff, you drink too much coffee and you're an idiot. At least that's honest feedback. It's not just like a thumbs down and then you run off. So leave a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and click that notification bell. And I will see you guys next time.